Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Well Anchored Life podcast, where we share the stories of brave guests who have navigated life's toughest storms and learned how to thrive amidst hardship. I'm your host, Belisha Tang. First, a quick and important note. This episode of The Well Anchored Life explores deeply personal and sometimes sensitive topics, specifically surrounding mental illness and substance use. We want to be explicitly clear that neither the host nor the guests are licensed medical professionals or therapists. We're simply sharing our lived experiences and insights from our own personal journeys. This conversation is offered for entertainment and educational purposes only. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out immediately to a qualified professional. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you. Alrighty, guys. This week I am thrilled to have on the podcast Rose Karpov-Kinrade. Rose is a mental health awareness trainer and is currently serving in her second term as an AmeriCorps Service Member. She has been curious about behavioral health her whole life, studying passionately the mechanics that define our reality as humans. Her interests surround self-awareness, meta-analysis, and interconnected holistic psychological approaches. She is just starting her academic journey, studying for a BA in psychology. She continues to learn more and more each day to read in between the lines about behavior and individual and sociological interpretations, whether that is through art, language, ethical philosophies, cultural artifacts, and more. Everybody, please welcome Rose to the podcast. Hi, Rose. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Felicia. It's really great to be here. So
I
thank you for having me
know.
on.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're amazing. So you were the instructor at this training I did. It was the Youth Mental Health First Aid training, and you were the lead instructor of this like 5.5 hour workshop, which I think is
Yes.
really impressive. I don't know how you had the stamina to do that and to keep us on track for 5.5 hours. That's amazing. So,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you so
you.
much for that training, by the way. I learned so much about like recognizing signs and symptoms of mental health challenges in youth, which I think is super important, especially
Yes.
if your job requires you to work with kids. Um,
Right.
so very good. So what exactly is your job title, to clarify? You work for
So,
the what, Mendocino County of Education?
yes. Of Office of Education, yes, I
Hmm.
am an AmeriCorps Service Member. So I'm stationed at this office through the National Mental Health Corps, and I am a mental health awareness instructor in general. That's my main, like, what I do. But my title is AmeriCorps member.
Got it. Got it. And you're only like 23, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just turned 23.
Oh my God. Happy birthday. You're so
Thank you. Thank you.
young. My gosh. I'm 27, so I'm a bit older than you, but I think it's so inspiring that you're already doing so much in the field of mental health. How long have you been doing this kind of work?
I have been in this position, I want to say around 2.5 years.
Wow.
The AmeriCorps service program that I'm part of allows you to have two service terms,
Hmm.
and they are 10 months each. So this is my second service term, but in between this and my first one, we had another member, and I acted as a substitute.
Hmm.
So she still needed instructors. We have like me and my supervisor are the only two people in the office who do what we do.
Hmm.
So we are kind of like are always scrambling to find people in our campus to be instructors. And then I instruct a majority of the trainings as well
Hmm.
as handle kind of that background paperwork, and
Yeah.
administration stuff about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing it for about 2 years and officially as an AmeriCorps member, 20 months.
20 months. Wow. That's amazing. What inspired you to get into this line of work with mental health?
I have always been a great mediator, good at with words and
Hmm.
good at reading in between the lines. So when someone is struggling with communicating with each other, I've always been the person to kind of help them use, I guess, like more descriptive words. And I think that was kind of what got me into this helping realm where I'm seeing people disconnected and I am inspired to reconnect them using their words. And I
Yeah,
would say that that is, in the mental health field, being a therapist and all that, that's the best way to do it, you know?
amazing. Amazing. Yeah. So this is a wellness podcast, and we talk a lot about self-care tools, how to stay anchored and grounded amidst life's many turbulent storms, right? Because that's a part of life. We all have challenges, and it's about how to overcome those challenges and learning how to thrive amidst hardship, right? So you and I connected. We talked about mental health, and you and I both have diagnoses. So my diagnosis is bipolar disorder. And you said you were diagnosed with ADHD when you were 19. Was that right?
Yes. And I was diagnosed with anxiety, generalized anxiety, when I was 12.
Mm,
Um, and and then, ADHD came later. I believe I'm not sure if I'm officially diagnosed. It was kind of just like well, that's kind of obvious, but I also have PTSD.
mm, yeah. And I would like to talk about that, about how do you cope with your mental health diagnoses, because these are challenging, any kind of diagnosis, whether you are formally diagnosed or self-identify, mental health is it's such a challenging thing, and let's start with the anxiety because I was also diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder when I was about 16. In addition to social anxiety, I used to have that as well. So I
Look at you
never thought
now,
I
though.
would become a podcaster. That was like my worst nightmare when I was a teenager. I was so shy. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so generalized anxiety. So what is that, for people who don't know?
It's basically we have phobias, which are anxiety disorders. We have social anxiety, like you mentioned. Generalized anxiety is not about a specific thing. It's kind of just a hyperactive nervous system that's kind of sensitive to a kind of general pool of stimuli.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And what does that look like in you personally? Like how does it show up?
For me, so I've done a lot of work, and personally I wouldn't even consider myself as struggling with an anxiety disorder like that anymore. So, I would say that when I was younger, it showed itself as not being able to speak publicly, not being able to do, major assignments. I would have like anxiety attacks before, you know, um, I would try to be in theater. I would try to do, those like kind of public speaking things, and I would like have panic attacks beforehand. Um, it also looked like trust issues as well as using coping mechanisms that would kind of distance myself from others. Um, I would have panic attacks in public, and then now it's much better where I can just cope through it instead of like avoiding, because that's kind of what anxiety disorders, the reason for them is you have this anxiety, the same anxiety that most people have, but um instead of being able to cope through it and just do stuff anyway, you end up doing like avoiding behavior or compulsive behavior like OCD.
Hmm.
And so that's what I would do. I would like just stop everything. I quit, theater. I would, not be able to do certain assignments. And looking back, it was really sad, like missing out on those things.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it though. I think avoidance is a big coping skill. It's not necessarily a healthy coping skill, but when you have this stimulus that makes you afraid, no one likes the feeling of anxiety and fear, right? And then your response then is to avoid it. I'm going to avoid it at all costs. And I used to avoid raising my hand in class, because I'd get so much anxiety with that. But in CBT, right, cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a very common modality to treat anxiety and depression, I learned how to like reframe my thoughts surrounding the fear and anxiety and go up the fear ladder, the fear hierarchy. I don't know if you did that, but it's basically like, okay, what's like the on the scale of like 1 to 10. 10 is like your biggest fear. And then 1 is like, okay, this gives me a little anxiety, but it's not like too unbearable, right? So you work your way up the hierarchy and it's called exposure therapy, right? So you do the thing that makes you afraid, and it doesn't matter how afraid you are, you just go for it, you know? Did you do something like that, the fear ladder?
So when I was much younger, I was in therapy and then I wasn't able to afford it for several years. And I only just started seeing my therapist like on and off.
Hmm.
Um, so I mostly dealt with it on my own and I
Mm.
wasn't using like kind of structured
Hmm.
things like that. So no, I never use that, but it sounds great. I mean, exposure therapy is wonderful because it basically is retraining your nervous system to not associate certain stimuli with life-threatening danger,
Yes,
which is basically
exactly.
what anxiety is, you know? It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I went like the last time I smelled this smell, like the worst thing that ever happened to me happened. So this must be it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like stimulus response. You develop these associations and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're doing amazing. I mean, you told me in the past you'd get nervous before speaking in public, and now you're on a freaking podcast and you led that
Yeah.
5.5 hour training by yourself. Like, I would be so nervous to do something like that. So good
Yeah.
for you. Wow.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. That is
No, it's
amazing.
really incredible. And it's interesting too, the way that it kind of is that exposure therapy where um I was so nervous, but when I first started this job and I would get, the shakes before a training, and especially when I was dealing with substance abuse, like having, I would get paranoid. I would never do a substance during a training, but
Hmm.
even if I smoked like the night before, I wouldn't get very good sleep. I could feel like the overall paranoia, and then the tobacco was making my anxiety worse. So, when I could tell the difference between the anxieties when I was smoking tobacco and when I wasn't. And I was having much more of like a physiological response. Like I would throw up in the morning before a training because of how anxious I was. And now I couldn't even imagine getting there because I think it comes down to the competence of I feel confident in my skill. I know what I'm doing. I
Yeah,
know what I'm talking about. And the more I practice, like the better I feel, just pushing myself
exactly.
outside of my comfort zone. And as you said, like reshaping my perspective of what is the actual danger? What is actually
Exactly.
wrong if I do this? And it started with
Yeah.
QPR. This QPR is a 90-minute training. And since I was the only instructor, I was able to start doing those on my own to take the load off of my supervisor. And once I got comfortable with that, it's like, okay, I mean, a mental health first aid, that's no sweat.
Wow. I'm so proud of you. This is such
Thank
a,
you.
isn't it one of the most fulfilling things ever to master a skill and
It
see, oh
really
my God,
is.
I used to get so nervous for this and now I'm like so confident at it. Like,
Yeah.
isn't that
No,
the
and
best
I'm proud of
feeling?
you too. Like, look at us getting through our
Look at us.
anxiety and just like talking to
Great.
strangers, talking to, 30 plus people and just
Yeah.
pushing through that anxiety, knowing what we're capable of.
Yeah, totally. My phrase the mantra I lead my life with is let your passion outshine your fear.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
whatever you're afraid of, it's going to be out of my comfort zone, but I am more than afraid. I'm deeply passionate about the work I'm doing. So even if I am a little nervous, like I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway because I believe in the mission behind what I do. So let
Yes.
your passion outshine your fear.
That is absolutely beautiful. And honestly, what helped me partly is kind of the parallel to that. In I'm sure you've heard of the poem Fear is the Little Death.
Mm,
I love that because, as a people pleaser or as a, as a recovering people pleaser, it is really um amazing to learn like basic advocation skills, basic boundary setting. And when I think about fear as the little death, it's like it's not like you're actually dying, but you're making yourself small. It's like who
yeah.
you are is dying. The potential that for who you are is dying. So this idea of who I am, who I want to be, my passion for the world is bigger than my fear. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Wow. I haven't read that poem, but I will. That's
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
beautifully
It's
the it's
beautiful.
it's a beautiful message. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, okay, so the anxiety, we talked about the anxiety. Now, let's talk about ADHD. Um, and for people who don't know, exactly, I'm sure we've all heard of ADHD, but not everyone knows exactly what like the symptoms are or what it entails. So, in your own words, how would you describe the ADHD diagnosis?
So a lot of people think that ADHD is something that you can get after you're born, but it is actually it's a defined categorized as a neurodevelopmental disorder, which means it's in your brain and it's in like structural. So my father has ADHD. My mother might, but she's, undiagnosed. And there's, I believe it's like 49.9% hereditary. So it's super likely to pass it down. So it's in my genetics. I was grown in the womb with it. And
Mm-hmm.
then it shows itself as kind of like a very racing thoughts, hard to focus on tedious tasks or things that don't really like don't like spark that passion. Very similar to depression. It has you have lower dopamine levels. And dopamine is your reward chemical. So anytime you do something that's like makes you feel good for doing it, that's that chemical that's in your brain that's making you feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so unlike depression though, ADHD isn't necessarily just like low dopamine like consistently. It's just kind of like from what I've understood, it's just sporadic dopamine. So that's why we
Mm-hmm.
can get hyperfixated on things because instead of getting dopamine from brushing your teeth and doing the little things that everyone else does, it's harder to reach that like I it's harder to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel dopamine from doing this small task. So you have to do something that's really like, oh my God, this is getting me where I need to be dopamine wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would describe it as. And it's very like personality as well, similar to autism spectrum disorder and ADHD is very again, it's structural, it's in your brain. It's not like anxiety where I was able to heal a lot of the anxiety parts of me and it might live in my nervous system, but it's not like part of my like foundational what makes me. But ADHD
Yeah.
from is a little different than that, so
Yeah.
which is why accommodations are much more necessary.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about some of those accommodations necessary for someone living with ADHD.
So personally, when it comes to time management and yeah, like time management is one of the biggest struggles with ADHD. And it's something that I take responsibility for. And living in a world that's made for everyone else and not necessarily for the way my brain works, it's difficult trying to like always live in a way that just doesn't fit necessarily who I am.
Yeah.
Um, so having flexible, um, like not having late assignments. I've been graced by my college professors who don't mark me down for late assignments. Because if I was marked down for every late assignment, like I would fail. And I've
Hmm.
gotten 4.0s. Like I am great academically. I am passionate. Um, but I sometimes have been like 10 days or even months late for assignments.
Hmm.
And it's really hard dealing with the shame in that element. So having teachers who understand, it's just really helpful. Like not having to
Absolutely.
be exactly on time, being able to be 5 minutes late, like those are really helpful most of the
Yeah.
time thing.
Yeah. No, that's great that your professors are so understanding. And I get that, I love that phrase you said, we don't live in a world that's built for neurodivergence. The
Yeah.
school system, a case in point, right? It's a very structured, very like straight and narrow way of, it's like a fixed way of doing things. I feel like I've been out of school for a while, but back in high school, K through 12, is very rote, structured way of learning. It was just like read a textbook, sit in the lecture for the whole length of the class, just sit your ass in the desk, and focus and be quiet. And I mean, I could only imagine how hard that must be, as a kid with ADHD, with the hyperactivity, with all that stuff. Talk to me about what it was like growing up in school, with this diagnosis.
Well, it's interesting. It'll show up for different people in so many different
Yeah.
ways. Um, I I'm really lucky because I'm I'm a very like intuitive person academically, and I can see patterns and things that, like I can guess, basically. I can
Hmm.
guess and like be mostly correct. I also have great verbal skills, so I'm able to like write essays pretty last minute, and not have to have been paying attention in class. But
Hmm.
some folks like aren't able to cope in that way. So the hardest thing, honestly, about school was just that I didn't learn how to study very well and how, like, time management.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be taught structure. I personally, like, for a little longer and a little more intentionally, it's like
Hmm.
so now that I'm in college, like I have to basically like learn how to study and how to manage my time in a new
Yeah.
way because it's something that just comes naturally maybe to other people,
Hmm.
didn't for me. So even though I didn't struggle academically, it it's more of the skills that you learn during that time that I would say I needed the most.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. And I've heard that from other people I've talked to with ADHD is like the
Mm,
way the school system was built was not made for how they learned naturally. So basically, they had to teach themselves their own
yeah.
way of learning that worked for their brain. It was this very like they had to take it upon themselves to figure it out by themselves, and that's hard, especially
Yeah.
when you're young. It's like, who is going to mentor you? Um, so, what's your biggest piece of advice for a young person who has
Mm.
ADHD and is struggling?
Honestly, there's two parts.
Hmm.
Ask for help, you know, build a community around you who can give you that kind of push that you need. And also, if I could have been more self-aware, like during that time period, I think that would have been so helpful. Like, obviously, when your brain is not fully developed, you're not thinking about the future and you're not very aware of yourself in the way that you do when your brain starts to get to that place.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, just being encouraged to practice earlier would have been really helpful. Um, and
Yeah.
just how do you impact the world around you? with ADHD especially, like it's so easy to just get impulsive and not think and just be kind of like, the way that I think about it or kind of talk about it is as like a metaphor to explain how it feels to have ADHD. It's like I'm on a boat in a river, in a rushing river, and I'm just like going on this river. It's going so fast, and I'm just trying to like stay afloat, stay like in the direction I want to go. But it's just so overwhelming. Like it's like everything's happening so fast, and I'm like, oh my God. It's like my thoughts are running so fast
Mm.
that time, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so strange. Like trying to catch water in a rushing river. Like it's
Yeah.
always gonna be new water. Like how do I hold on to all of this, you know?
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful metaphor, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is challenging. It is a challenging diagnosis, and it all exists on a spectrum too, right? Some people have a
Yeah.
little bit, some people have more severe, um, across the board for all diagnoses, you know. So I love what you said about reaching out for help and
Yeah.
not feeling ashamed to reach
Mm.
out for help. Let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
that. Stigma, mental health stigma. It exists. It's real and true still in 2025, and that's exactly why I want to have this conversation with you is to destigmatize. And I think the only
Yeah.
way or the biggest way we can destigmatize mental health is to talk about it and have open conversations, open, honest conversations. So yeah, what do you think about stigma? I hate it.
Yeah, let like we
Let's
hate
just
it.
go. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because when we talk about, anything really, when we talk about how the school system isn't made for people like us, it's not even just us. It's like the school system is made to put you in a box, and if you struggle within that box, you have a disorder.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, that we still wouldn't struggle, like especially with the chemical, with the, you know, developmental, but the struggle would not be so like intense. I don't think that youth would be dealing with substance abuse issues the way that they are right now with depression and anxiety. Like, how are those so common disorders? And we're not thinking like an epidemic of anxiety.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it does come back to this stigma element, this lack of self-awareness as a species where we don't really understand our brain well enough. We're not very meta aware about our
Mm-hmm.
existence. And so we just kind of act on our emotions and on our fear so easily without thinking very logically, which
Yeah.
I find very interesting. Like stigma is not logical. Stereotypes are not like logical. They're very just like
Yeah.
fear-based, very emotional perspectives on things. And emotions, I mean, we're still mammals. We have emotions and they're vital in being able to exist on this world. But we also have brains, you know, like
Yeah.
that is one of our greatest skills as human beings is our like metacognition in our brains. Like we wouldn't have them if they weren't useful.
Yeah,
So it's,
exactly.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I like what you said about just as a species, yeah, we're not self-aware. I think that's where stigma is born is this lack of awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ignorance. And it's easy to, if you're on the outside, let's say you don't have a mental health condition or you don't know anyone who does, um,
Yeah.
the only thing you know is the stereotypes associated with the labels, right? Like for bipolar, there's people think we're violent or we're like
Mm.
I've watched a lot of movies depicting bipolar characters and always portraying them as violent in some way or just very chaos. They are chaos. They create chaos and wreak
Right.
havoc around everybody. Which, you know, I think the danger with stereotypes is that they are a little bit true, a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but you cannot rely solely on a stereotype to project on everyone, you know, because mental illness presents differently in different cases. And if you're managing it well, which it sounds like you are really managing it well, um, then you're just like, I call it you're in remission. You're
Mm,
always managing it, just like if you had diabetes, you have to, take your medication, do the insulin and all that. You're managing it, but the symptoms are not showing and you're fine,
mm,
you know?
hmm.
So let's talk about what are some of your self-care strategies to manage ADHD?
Honestly, medication
Okay.
has changed my life.
Yeah.
Before I was taking Adderall, like I was so severely depressed that I was behind on everything, you know. I could barely gain the motivation to brush my teeth, to clean my room, to do assignments. So that honestly is a huge self-care thing for me and helps me like function. Um, and specifically like manage the like 100 things that we have to do every day.
Hmm.
A lot of people I feel like, and I can't even say this, that people don't know how hard it is because I couldn't know what like how much effort it takes to brush your teeth as like a neurotypical person. I just know sometimes like it can seem like it can be easy to take for granted how little energy it might be for some.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like takes so much mental thought processing just to do these small, like 2-minute tasks throughout the day.
Yeah.
So Adderall helps me like organize and fit all of those things into order without getting overwhelmed and overstimulated just by the thought of trying to organize it all. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then,
Absolutely.
I showed you my room earlier, so
Yes.
the visual
Beautiful
aesthetic
room.
is so important to me, and just having everything in order
Yeah.
and beautiful. Like I want to be able to walk into my room and feel like I don't have more things to do. Like
Mm.
when I'm clean, it feels like I'm creating like a basic environment so that it's like I walk in, I can think about doing, my washing my face and wa brushing my teeth and, doing schoolwork instead of like, oh my God, I have to clean now.
Yeah.
That's big too. Drinking water as well. Like my
Yes.
food, I have a really hard time drinking water. So I'm like always trying to find ways to like drink more water. And honestly, it's about the cups.
Yeah. Oh, like the size of the cups is
The
like
size of the cups.
mhm,
Also, again, it's like the visual.
the
I need
visual.
dopamine.
Yeah.
So having like basically rewarding myself by looking at water
Wow.
is what it does. So I'll
That's
like put it in a
amazing.
nice cup, either nice to drink from or nice to look at, because then it's associating like good things with water.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God, water, good. Water, pretty. Water, fun. Also, I
Wow.
don't other neurotypical or neurodivergent people, but anyone might benefit, but like clear cups. I don't know why, but these cups can be, especially if I put like other drinks in them and then I have to wash them. But just like a clear glass, I drink water way faster because
Oh,
I don't know why. I see the water, I see that it's clean and looks crisp, but with this it's so opaque, so I like my brain just like I think it's an extra step almost. Like
yeah.
my brain like thinking about what's in the cup is an extra step to think about, if that makes sense. So then it kind of like
Hmm.
acts as this very small barrier that ends up kind of just turning me off from it. I don't know how to explain it.
No, that's interesting. So it sounds to me like you're basically like I don't want to use the word manipulating, but you are figuring out your brain, right?
Yeah.
You're like a detective
Mm-hmm.
and you have to figure out what works for you, almost like tricking your brain into like creating positive associations in your environment so you're more likely to complete a task. And you
Exactly.
need that self-awareness to do it. And I think that self-awareness comes from just living with it for as
Yes.
long as you have. The more time you've spent living with it, you get naturally more well acquainted with it, right?
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, it's just so overwhelming. When you're
Yeah,
first
well, and
diagnosed and you don't know what the hell's going on, but
it's also like personally, when we talk about diagnosis, the only reason we feel the need to diagnose is because it's affecting our life. And that's like with literally any problem on earth. The only reason it's called a problem is because it's, you know, decreasing productivity. It's making ourselves sad, or
Mm.
like, oh no, the car doesn't have any more gas. That's a problem because now I can't use it. All those things, like we start that intervention. But the only way that we know to intervene is to be self-aware, to look back and look forward. And again, that's like what humans are so, like what the beautiful thing about us is that we run out of gas and we're like, how can I avoid this problem moving forward? I can refill the gas sooner. And that's why self-awareness is one of the things that, like, I think I would wish upon every person, because it's not just, oh, I'm doing this, like, why am I doing this? It's like honestly just observing yourself every day and observing the little things, like the process,
Yeah,
It's so helpful for everyone.
super helpful. Do you do journaling by any chance? Do you journal to like
I
be self-aware?
Yeah, I used to more.
Mhm.
Again, it's like, especially since working full time,
Yeah.
there's just so many things to manage. So I don't have as
Yeah,
much time as
totally.
I would like to. And then when I
No,
do have
that's
time, it's like I'm just trying to like gain energy, so I like watch TV or something. But
yeah,
I do
yeah,
love journaling. I used to in the beginning of my like journey of feeling actualized.
yeah,
And it would really help me like kind of, because you're not journaling to necessarily even know exactly how you feel. It's more like, okay, I'm seeing how I feel. Why do I feel this way?
yeah,
And why do I feel this way about why I feel this way? If that
yeah.
makes sense. It's like a
Very meta.
meta analysis of your emotional like
Yeah.
processing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, the only reason I asked is because I love journaling, and I also find this little self-care hack that I do personally is tracking. So I track everything. I have a spreadsheet. I track my moods 3 times a day because I have a mood disorder. So my moods
Hmm.
can go fluctuate. And then I write on a scale 1 through 10, what am I feeling? You know, 1 is like morbidly depressed, 10 is like I'm out of my mind manic, and then 5 is like, okay, I'm euthymic, which means I'm at a baseline. I'm neither high nor low. So I track that.
Mm.
And then I do the 3 minute message, which is what you were talking about, like writing about your feelings. What things led me to feel this certain way in this moment? And yeah, like how do I feel about my emotion right now? I also track my diet, sleep, exercise, meds I took. If I use substances, that's important. And
Mm.
let's segue into that, by the way, substance use. Because for me personally, I have used substances like bad substances to self-medicate, to manage symptoms, even though I also am on psychiatric medication. Sometimes the meds alone don't cut it. I'm still symptomatic despite being on medication. There's a lot that goes into managing. So, what are your thoughts on substance use or any like personal experience there?
Yeah. So I used to, well, I used to smoke nicotine.
Mm,
I used to smoke weed. Um, in high school, I was drinking more, but now, that was something that I kind of cut out. Um, Really, what I feel about any addiction, and again, this comes back to what a problem is, what is mental health struggles? It comes back to is it negatively impacting your life? Um, and so the difference, for example, between like taking Adderall and smoking nicotine was, and they're both stimulants, is Adderall isn't for now like negatively impacting my health in the way that nicotine was, smoking was. Um, and I would notice with nicotine, like I would, again, this comes back to the self-awareness. Like I would wake up feeling upset. I would, every like hour or 2 hours, I would start getting irritated. Um, and so that was like a negative impact with nicotine that I didn't want in my life. That wasn't something that was worth, you know, the the head spin and the self-medication,
yeah.
you know.
How did you quit nicotine? Because I also had experience with nicotine, and it's like the hardest substance to quit. I think it
Yeah.
is the most addictive one. Even more than heroin, I think I read somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, it's heroin's like a very dangerous one, but nicotine
Mm.
is there's a reason there are so many smokers in this world.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
I I
So,
think it's about the reward and the reward versus the punishment. Like we've all been told like how bad heroin is, how bad, cocaine is. We wouldn't think of heroin like, and think, oh yeah, that's like a great thing that I should do every single day.
yeah.
But similar to like caffeine,
Oh yeah, caffeine's another
nicotine
one.
is such a like everyday, you know, you see it all the time. It's not like you see videos like movies and people are casually like doing heroin. That would be crazy. So
Yeah.
I think in that element, like not only socially, I quit again. I will like talk about self-awareness till like the day that I die, but it
Yeah.
really was just about being able to know what my body is doing. Like, how does my brain work? How does my body work? What does nicotine actually do to me? And like being able to just see myself as a creature, as an animal, because that is what we are. That helped me kind of think of it less in a shame sense and I guess deal with the problem kind of logically. Like, as you were saying with the water, it's like instead of just trying to willpower it through, I was able to understand like that's just not what will work for me.
Yeah.
Um, it actually started with my mom saying like let's do a 30-day cleanse. And because at the time we were smoking weed and I stopped smoking weed for 30 days because like right, sure, let's do it. Um, and my brain was just so much clearer. Like I was sharper. And unless I had quit for long enough to notice that, I wouldn't have been able to fully think, oh, well, this isn't the way that I want my brain to be like every day.
Yeah.
And then when it came to nicotine, it was I feel upset. I don't like this feeling. I don't want to snap at the people I love. And also it came down to as well the dealing with anxiety, where part of dealing with anxiety disorder and everything is taking accountability for coping
Hmm.
and learning how to cope through anxiety without avoidance.
Hmm.
And when I started noticing that I would feel irritated, and my first thought in my brain was to say, I need to smoke, like I feel upset, I'm gonna go smoke. Um, I think because of my other experiences with my mental health, that was a bigger red flag
Hmm.
because I'd already been teaching myself like, oh, when you're anxious, when you're upset, like what are healthy ways to deal with that? And in my mind, like smoking wasn't a healthy way to deal with anxiety
Hmm.
compared to other things, and that's another thing. Like, sorry, I'm like going on monologues. Is it okay
No,
if I'm
yeah,
talking
you're
so
good.
long?
This is great. All of
Um,
this is great. Yeah.
so it wasn't just about like, okay, I'm gonna quit cold turkey and then shit on myself when it's not gonna work. It's more like, okay, what am I smoking for? So how can I meet that need another way? If I'm angry,
Mm.
I'm trying to calm the anger. How can I do that in another way that makes me feel better? I'm socializing with smoking. How can I socialize in a different way? It's about replacing it instead of just trying to eliminate it and then just sit in boredom because
Yeah.
that's not really going to work. Um, yeah, and then
Wow,
also
that's great. Yeah.
yeah,
Great
I also
advice.
saw a video of a woman who tried to was quitting alcohol, and that tip also really helped me where she said instead of just trying to quit cold turkey, just prolong it. Where if you want, she was talking about beer, but she's like, if I wanted a beer, instead of like drinking it right then, I would wait 5 minutes. I would go on a walk. Sometimes I would even bring a beer with me, but it was just about that prolonging. So that's what I did instead of quitting cold turkey, and that really helped me.
Wow. Great advice. Great advice. Did you by any chance use any nicotine replacement therapy like patches or gum or
Oh, I did. It was really funny. I used to vape and smoke tobacco. So I switched to a reusable vape,
Mm-hmm.
and I got the like the bottle of vape juice is like less flavorful.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good in the sense that it wasn't like, oh, this tastes so good, I want to keep vaping. And I also accidentally kept burning the pods. So it was just disgusting. Like,
Mm.
so, and then I stopped using the vape, and I'm like, it just like turned me off of vapes because I tried vaping a couple times and it's like, this is awful.
Yeah.
And so then it kind of just like, I guess it got me out of that like delusional headspace where I'm like idealizing vaping, I guess. And then I
Mm-hmm.
did it in this negative way, and it's like, this actually sucks.
Yeah, like you introduce a negative association.
Yeah,
That whole
exactly.
stimulus response thing we were talking about earlier, there can be positive associations, positive reinforcement that causes you to do the behavior more, and then there's also negative reinforcement. So the vape, this new kind of vape you got just tasted freaking horrible. Then why would you
Exactly.
want to do that again? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
like,
it's really funny. We're literally all just animals. It's like as soon as we break down our behavior,
it's pretty
it's like
basic.
hilarious. It's pretty it's pretty basic. Like, oh, I eat sugar because it tastes good. Like that's about it, you know? And as soon as
Yeah.
you're able to like again with the CBT, like I basically like was doing CBT to myself
Mm.
where I would be self-aware enough to look at the way I was thinking about things. And then I would act as like my own therapist almost
Wow.
to analyze it from a different perspective and then think, okay, what do I want to be thinking instead? Instead of like, I would notice as soon as I was thinking, I need this thing, I would like, need is the wrong word. We don't need anything. We need water and food. We need oxygen. We need love. Like, those are what we need. You don't need nicotine. That's like a silly ass thing to say. So I would, if I ever say, I need to buy this thing, I'm like, no, you want this thing.
You want, yeah.
So yeah.
Changing that script in your head.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so smart, because it takes a special kind of intelligence to learn yourself, basically study yourself,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And I was lucky. I have had the same therapist for 11 years.
Mm,
Um, and I have a good relationship with her. But yeah, I also think I'm self-reflective, but I don't know if I could have overcome all my issues like um, without professional help of a
mm.
therapist. Um, but yeah, I think substances, you gave me a lot of good insight because I have struggled with like nicotine, alcohol, and right now it's caffeine. Um, what is caffeine like for you? Like, how's your caffeine habit?
Honestly, since I started taking Adderall, it's much healthier.
Mm,
I basically replaced like coffee or nicotine with coffee because again, it's a stimulant. It's like,
mm-hmm,
most ADHD is treated with stimulants first unless there's a reason not to. I mean, I don't know this. I actually wouldn't say for sure. I just know
mm-hmm,
that's the most like well-known treatment for ADHD and why a lot of ADHDers will use nicotine and caffeine to self-medicate. Now I do it similar to like honestly the way that I drink alcohol, which is not really about focusing on like getting as caffeinated or as drunk as possible, but just about the flavor and the experience. Um, so yeah, with coffee, I drink probably like 1 cup a day and
mm.
maybe two. I use it as a social experience.
Yeah, like get coffee with a friend kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's
Go
just
on a
like my
coffee
morning
date.
routine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's it's my morning routine. So for me, I do energy drinks, which is like way worse. It's just like 200 milligrams of caffeine in this one Alani or Celsius or sometimes Red Bull. And at one point I was drinking like four of those a day or like five. And it was just, I was looking for some kind of, I was chasing a feeling. That's what it was. I wanted a change in consciousness
Mm,
because there was something about my daily life where some things were happening that I didn't like the headspace I was in. So that's why
Yeah.
I think really that's the premise of why people turn to drugs is they want to change their consciousness. They want to get out of
Yeah.
their head. They want to change how they feel because they hate how they're feeling. And
Right.
drugs are effortless. You just drink it or you just smoke it and boom, you're in a different space that may feel better in the moment, but there's always a consequence. There's always a come down, there's always a crash, there's always so at some point you're just like, is it worth it? You
Yeah.
know?
Well, and it's really sad. I feel like that's one of the greatest ways to even think and empathize with someone who's struggling with a substance abuse issue or addiction is like many of us have not even many, like I would say a a a portion of like the global population have resources that give us direction that directs us away from substance. But if you don't have money, if you don't have education, if you don't have community, if you don't have a home, like if you don't have literally anything that could act as a healthy, like I said, a healthy coping skill to deal with that upset, like literally all you have is substance.
Yeah.
And it's really sad,
It's
It's
so
really sad.
sad. I can't even imagine how you would fight that, you know. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
If you were homeless and didn't have people, didn't have the resources or education to battle this. Addiction is a disease. It's like
It is.
it's a
It's
chronic disease, and once I heard the phrase once an addict, always an addict because there is a slippery slope because you could just as easily fall back into the addictive cycle if you're not carefully managing,
yeah.
and it's the hardest thing to break. Addiction's darkness, I've struggled and it just like every little good thing that happens in my day, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter because I used today,
Mm,
and even though I did something great, I accomplished them. I taught a great class. Okay, now I want to go and use my
right. It's like, oh, I could celebrate. Oh, like yeah, it that your
Yeah, right.
brain is
That's
just
another thing is like using it as a reward or like using it
mm-hmm.
as a coping skill for anxiety or it's like, okay, so
Yeah.
now you have all these excuses to use.
Yeah. Wait, so do you mean
So
like I woke up today?
accomplishment.
Woo! I might as well.
Not to make light of addiction, but it's
No,
like it
I'm
is, humor is also really important too. To kind of
yeah.
lighten the mood
Yeah.
about these heavy topics.
Yeah.
But I just want to applaud you for overcoming nicotine, especially. That's
Thank you.
something I actually, full disclosure, I am still struggling with it.
Yeah, many people
Not,
are.
yeah, yeah. So, um,
And I'm proud of
and
you. I am.
thank
Like,
you.
at the end of the day, the stigma element, like we want to act like there's this perfect way of being and that there's the most actualized person. At the end of the day, like we all every single day are just struggling together.
Yeah.
And it's not even like the worst thing on earth though for that to be true. At the end, like I would never have been able to work through the struggles that I'm going through without like other people. I
Oh, yeah.
had social media, honestly, and I'm on a great part of social media. I mean, I'm not anymore, but like as someone who's, been a feminist since the day I was born,
Hmm.
um, who has been, into mental health for like a very long time. I'm I was always engaging with content like that. So I had creators who weren't necessarily like enabling me, but giving me words to describe what I was going through and giving me alternatives, you know? It's
Yeah.
like I'm I just got lucky. And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we have each other, and that is the best thing. Like again, we're creatures. We're social creatures. We're literally
Social
born
creature.
needing each other, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, totally. And it really does take a village to.
Yeah.
treat mental health conditions, mental illness. I don't think rarely can you heal by yourself in a vacuum, just by yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and loneliness is in itself an epidemic right now, especially. I think it started with COVID and now it's just kind of continuing. And loneliness, science has shown that it can actually cause health issues, like physical health issues, if you don't
Yeah.
have enough people around you. So who would you say are your support systems right now?
Mm. I think my partner,
Hmm.
my brother and sister, and my family, like my family really. Um, I have some great solid friends where, when I was in kind of the partying, substance abuse, like culture, I would say it was just a lot of like enabling each other.
Hmm.
And now like I've just become I had a moment of just like isolation where it wasn't fully toxic at that period because I needed a moment to learn like who I am and what I want.
Yeah.
And I was still in the place where I only had friends who would smoke, and it's like, okay, if I want to hang out with my people, then I need to smoke, and or I have to be around it, and I knew I wouldn't be able to like deal with that in the moment. So it
Yeah.
was good just being by myself for a hot second, and now I have, you know, a good handful of like great friends who I feel like
Amazing.
actually see me and are real.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really real point you
Yeah,
bring up.
and I
Is
encourage
like,
everyone really to encourage everyone to kind of find people like that who don't enable you, who challenge you, who make you uncomfortable sometimes.
oh yeah, you don't want your friends to always be like yes women or yes men. They tell you the hard truths because
Yes,
you trust them with that. And
exactly.
yeah, yeah, totally. And that's hard, right? Like who deciding being selective with who you surround yourself with. Are they good
Hmm.
influences on you? Especially if
Right.
drinking and smoking were a part of your social bonding activities, that must be really hard once you decide to stop doing those things. Like, oh my gosh, am I going to lose these friends who this was a big part of our bonding activity, and
Yeah.
so when you were kind of in that period of transition, like, did you have to cut out people like that, or were you able to work to compromise?
Well, it wasn't even about like cutting them out necessarily, just like I like moving in different directions.
Hmm.
There were some friends that I don't talk to anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and it was hard in the moment, like after just kind of during that it was kind of a short period though where
Hmm.
it was hard. Because at the end of the day, I would prefer to be happy and healthy and seek people who I feel more aligned with.
Yes, yes. I love that word alignment.
Yeah,
Alignment.
really.
Yeah, I hear that word used. Like, I interviewed another girl on this podcast. She also used the word alignment. That is what she seeks, right?
Mm,
It's like this union of our mind, body, spirit. They're all on the same
mm-hmm.
page. We're all aligned. We're all working on the same team. So how do you achieve alignment? Like, what does alignment mean to you?
I think to me, it's really about following my intuition
Mm,
and understanding what my body needs in this moment, looking
hmm.
beyond the initial learned thought, kind of going within on a deeper level. And to me, that is alignment, where I'm not just like walking around thoughtlessly, but I'm
Hmm.
aware of what my body is doing.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of the person in front of me. Like, I don't have this lens over my vision of thought, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. It's this clarity.
Clarity, I was gonna say that
Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah. No, I resonate so deeply with that. I think Socrates said, an unexamined life is not worth living. So you have
Yeah.
to live in self-examination, self-awareness. We keep using that. That's like the theme of our podcast is self-awareness sets you free,
Yeah.
basically.
Literally.
Yeah, and living with intentionality, right? Not just wandering around aimlessly, doing whatever, or even just like
Right.
following the crowd, you know? There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I don't follow the crowd, you know? Um,
Sorry.
no, you're good. I don't follow the crowd because I would not be happy if I did that. I just chose a different path, you know, as a dancer and fitness teacher, and it makes me happy. So I think for me, alignment, exactly what you said. Follow your intuition because your intuition knows the truth. You know, your intuition is the voice that's leading you to your essence, your core, your truth. So listen to that. Listen to that quiet voice. And sometimes it's not even quiet, it's screaming at you. It's like, do this. Or like, don't date this guy. He's bad for you. That's your intuition. It's telling you to do the right thing.
Yeah, and it's to me it's very vibrational
Mm,
where we're all like electric impulses. We're literally made of atoms and those
mm-hmm,
atoms are vibrating. And to me alignment is kind of tapping into what that vibration means to the world around me and what it feels like. Sometimes it's not even a voice, it's just like a state of being.
mm-hmm,
Um, and it's hard. Like I asked my therapist, how do you tell the difference between your intuitive voice and your anxious voice?
mm,
And I don't even remember her answer. I remember seeing a post potentially about it. Or maybe this is what she said. I don't remember. But basically, it was just your anxious voice will be super loud. It'll be like, "Don't do this." It'll be the
mm,
fear, the panic alarm, the like
mm,
the alarm, and your intuitive voice might just be more of like a pull,
mm.
or kind of just an attraction, I guess, to a choice.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, because anxiety, that's fear talking, and
Yeah.
the fear is, what do they call it? Um, false evidence appearing real. So fear
Mm,
is
mm-hmm.
false. It's false. It's a product of some kind of learned association that was counterproductive, and it's not fear's in our head. That's mostly, you know, and but the
Yeah.
intuition is that seed of wisdom. It's the
Yeah.
wisdom, you know. So
Yeah. Well, an emotion is it's our body reacting to something.
yeah.
And the issue becomes when it's not even necessarily like what I'm interpreting as what you mean by false is that it is not reflection of reality necessarily. It exists and it's telling us something, just not
Mhm.
necessarily what reality is. It's
Yeah.
telling us something about ourselves,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of like the world is in the way that it is right now is because so many people feel afraid and then they say, you made me afraid, and so you are bad, versus I'm
Yeah.
afraid. So what does that mean for me?
Yeah. Fear causes a lot of division, a lot of
Yeah,
division, and
yeah,
we fear what we don't know, right? So I
yeah,
think we just get acquainted with your fears, you know? And by the way, I should qualify to say that fear exists for a very like functional reason too. It's like having a healthy dose of fear with driving when you're behind the wheel. I think that's healthy because you have to
yeah,
recognize like you got to be careful. You know, driving is a
right.
real danger if you're reckless. So having a little bit of fear, a healthy dose of
Yeah,
fear for something like that that is can pose a real risk, that's good, you know. But if the fear is something irrational, that like public speaking, you are not going to die up there. Okay, you may be shy and uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill you. People looking at
yeah,
you is not going to kill you, but in your head, you kind of inflated it to this kind of life or death scenario. So that would be an example of an irrational fear.
right.
Yeah, so
Or even just a fear that it's fear of what? Of rejection, of like being able to analyze what am I really afraid of,
exactly.
and how can this inform my choices? How can this inform my needs. Like, why am I afraid of rejection? Well, because we're social creatures and we crave connectedness and togetherness.
Yeah.
Kind of like back to that reward and punishment system where fear is basically punishing you for something.
Yeah.
And it's just being able to realign like what that thing is. Like I'm afraid to say something super upsetting, not because, and it comes back to that like altruism. Like, am I a nice person because of fear or because I think that's truly right? I mean, it's really hard to know how your biology works and then also believe in altruism because at the end of the day, it really is just about punishment. And at the
Mm.
same time, like, sometimes we are punished for doing kind things. Sometimes it's actually harder to say something that feels helpful and kind in that moment. Um, because we fear rejection. I want to get along with my crowd. I want to kind of be a friends with my, people who didn't align with my goals in that moment. But at the end of the day, I need to do what's best for me, you know?
Exactly. Death to the people pleaser syndrome, right? You mentioned that you
Yes.
used to be a recovering people pleaser too, like
Yes.
my whole life.
And honestly, like on rewording what people pleasing even is, like I hate that word because
Mm.
it's who are you pleasing?
Mm-hmm.
You're not pleasing yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not even pleasing the people that you're trying to,
Trying to please.
comfort. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, they're just feeling like emotionally burnt out from trying to make you comfortable. Like it's about comforting yourself. That's what people
Yeah.
pleasing is. It's about feeling safe and comfortable. And sometimes like people pleasing a Nazi is not actually people pleasing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like why would I want the comfort of some people at the expense of others or myself?
Yeah.
And reframing it in that way was really like mind changing.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful way to reframe. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you come first, and it's not selfish because you got to take care of yourself and be, healthy. Health is wealth, right? And if you have anyone or anything that's jeopardizing you from living a healthy life, how can you give the best version of yourselves to those around you, right? If you're struggling. So I think it's
Yeah.
not a selfish thing to do self-care and take care of yourself and stand up for your needs, voice your needs, express them because other people are not mind readers either. So if you don't
Yeah.
explicitly say like, "Oh, hey, this is what I'm setting these boundaries for myself. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm not okay with." If you don't set those boundaries in whatever relationship it is, how can they really know, you know? So I think
Yeah.
it's the responsibility of you to, yeah, set healthy boundaries and communicate and voice your needs, while also doing it in a respectful way, of course, um, and making sure you're surrounding yourself with people who respect your needs and boundaries. Because if they're
Right.
just over here crossing your boundaries all the time, like that's to me is unacceptable, you know?
Absolutely. And it's like at the end of the day, being able to say boundaries, to set them well, isn't just about self-care, it's about maintaining the relationship.
Yeah.
Um, though I was doing a training recently, and as someone who kind of is trying to find the balance between collectivist and individualist mindset, like how can we practice or view self-care in a way that isn't hyper individualistic? And for
Mm,
me, it's like it's not about separating me from you. It's about understanding self-care as human care,
yeah.
understanding you care as me care, and me care as you care, because we're not necessarily like these individual organisms where, when I water the tree or when the tree is taken care of, everyone gets oxygen and every creature that lives on the tree is happy. The the moss that grows on the tree is taken care of. So when I take care of myself, I take care of others and vice versa, you know,
Beautiful
makes us all
metaphor.
stronger. Thank
Oh, yeah.
you. Nature is the best teacher.
It
Like any
is.
possible issue that I have, if I think about, okay, what is the metaphor nature can give me? I can come up with one easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Rose, this was incredibly like inspiring and insightful, and I am so impressed at your self level of introspection and self-awareness at age
Thank
23.
you.
I feel like you are so wise beyond your years, and I think a lot of people, neurodivergent individuals I talk to, have to be. They have to be
Mm,
self-aware to manage. That's
yeah.
why people who have struggled with mental health, I find they are actually the ones who are doing really well,
Mm.
once they're along their recovery journey and they are managing it, they're actually, so, sometimes I'm like, wait, I'm the bipolar one? Like, wait,
Yeah. Well,
you
at the
know.
end of the day, it's like we've learned. I honestly view those that are others as beautiful teachers of this world because we can't take anything for granted. We can't just go with the flow because if we did, we would die.
Yeah.
So we have to learn, like, how do I deal with stress? And then at that point, most stressful things happen in the world. There is natural disasters, there is recessions. And for folks who have been able to just slide by without learning how to deal with stress, like they realize, oh, shit, like what do I do? I've never dealt with something so horrible. For
Yeah.
us folks, we deal with
Every day.
every day. And so
Every
we
day.
know like, okay, this horrible thing is happening. I have a plan, you know?
Oh my
So
God, truth. Yeah, that
it's
is
a
so
beautiful
true.
thing.
It's beautiful. It makes you resilient. It makes you
Yeah.
strong. It makes you wise. It gives you empathy, a huge
It
capacity to
does.
empathize with people who are going through challenges, even if it's not ADHD or if it's something else, or even if it's not related to mental health. But it just made me a better human, my
Yeah.
bipolar, because before that I was a cog in the machine. I was
Mm,
doing well in school. I was going to be a doctor. I was following that path. I was just following rules. I was like a goal achieving machine, but it was a very
yeah.
like narrow-minded worldview. And it was
Right.
selfish too. It was like selfish ambition. I was just chasing the wrong things,
Yeah.
but bipolar happened and it was
Mm,
humbling, so humbling,
mm,
but it made me a better human at the end of the day, you know.
yeah. And that's kind of like, honestly, like what I would love to end with is just
Hmm.
telling, all of the listeners and reminding both of us that it's not even just that trauma or mental illness like made us good people. It allowed us to choose. It gave
Mm.
us perspectives and gave us choice in, do I want to live the way that I've been living? Do I like it opens our mind to the possibilities of this world. It's like not all traumatized people are good people, but that's partly because they made a choice with what they wanted to do, you know?
Oh
And I
yeah.
chose to be good. So did you, to be kind.
That's amazing. I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of us. And thank you, Rose, for being on this podcast. You're
Thank you for having me,
awesome.
Felicia. It was so wonderful just chatting about this, and I
Yes.
hope that we can bring love and understanding to so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to have you again in the futures. I feel
Yes,
like you're so
absolutely.
knowledgeable. Like we could talk about so many things. And
Yes, please.
yeah, we
And
we
I have so
covered
many
so
books. Like,
much. Yeah.
once I get through the books, I will be on here again to tell you
Oh my
everything I learned.
gosh. Yes, yes. All right, girl.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank you.
day. Yeah,
You as
thank
well.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. As we wrap up today's journey, a massive thank you for spending this time with us on the Well Anchored Life. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps other people find the show. We have new episodes dropping every Tuesday, so follow us on Instagram to stay up to date with new episodes and behind the scenes content. We appreciate you being here. Talk to you guys next week.